Most importantly, I want to thank Coach Lucia, his wife Joyce, and their family for what they've done with this program. 19 years, the number of banners he's put up, the national championships, the impact that he's had on our student athletes that have been on this campus, that have played for him, are lasting, and just really grateful for the opportunity. I've been in college athletics a long time. I've been blessed to work with a lot of really good coaches, and there's not a finer gentleman than this guy right here. So just really thankful for Don and Joyce and their family for the impact they've had on our program.
Thanks, Mark. I guess my first disappointment is I didn't outlast Sid here. He's still working away at 98, but I just normally don't write anything down, but I didn't want to forget some things today, and then I'm looking forward to some questions. And since 1967, my life has been consumed by the great game of hockey. In 6th grade, I had to make a decision if I would play hockey or basketball. As my brother said, if I chose basketball, I would be teaching and coaching at Black Duck instead of the University of Minnesota. To my coaches growing up in Grand Rapids, thank you. Mike Surdich, Jim Nelson, Lynn Ellingson, Buzzy Christensen, Tommy D. You taught me so many life lessons that have been the foundation of my life and coaching philosophy. Lefty Smith, thank you. I appreciate you now more than ever. You taught me that winning the right way was the most important way. Academics and integrity were the foundation of the Notre Dame program. It is a lesson I have never forgotten. Rick Schaefer, thank you for believing that I would be a good fit at Notre Dame and starting me on my coaching journey in Alaska. Without you, I wouldn't be coaching at Minnesota or have met my future wife. Harris Shelton, thank you for a chance on a 28-year-old assistant coach. What a wonderful opportunity to learn on the job at Alaska Fairbanks. Max Taylor, thank you for believing that I could coach in the WCHA and return CC back to relevance. It was an intimidating walking into a league with legends like Doug Woog, Jeff Sauer, Gino Gasparini, Rick Comley, and Mike Surdich. I grew and gained confidence because of it. Mark Dienhart, thank you for giving me an opportunity to coach at the University of Minnesota. I never dreamed I would have the chance, but couldn't turn it down when offered. My dream was to win a national championship, and I knew we would have that opportunity at Minnesota. Joel Maturi, thank you for your friendship, and most importantly, your belief in me when I was ill. Your belief allowed me to finish my coaching career at Minnesota. Doug Woog, thank you for your grace and friendship during the transition in coaches. Only you understood what was going through at times coaching at Minnesota. Your support was genuine and appreciated. To my staff and coaches over the years, thank you. You did all the work behind the scenes for our teams to be successful. It was a pleasure to work with you every day. To all the players over the years, thank you. I hope you enjoyed your time here and grew as a person and a player. I trust the lessons you learned will serve you the rest of your life. There was never a day I didn't enjoy going to practice and coaching and working with you. To Mike Genzel, thank you. We spent 16 years together and hung 14 banners. It was fun to watch our boys grow up around our jobs. You are Gopher Hockey. The last 19 years have been better than I could have imagined. I wanted to have success at Minnesota without sacrificing academics or integrity. I am proud that all of our players are graduating. I am proud they understand how important making good choices are away from the rink. They understand the program is more important than any coach or player. Playing at Minnesota comes with a tremendous responsibility. The championships have been great, but all the friendships over the years mean even more to me. To all the Gopher fans over the last 19 years who have expressed encouragement, support, and even criticism, thank you. All are needed to hold our program accountable to such a high standard. To USA Hockey and Jimmy Johansson and Lou Vero, thank you. You gave me an opportunity to coach numerous teams at the international level. Lou, your encouragement and wisdom served me well in my career. To my parents and brother, thank you for providing such a loving family to grow up in. My mother provided my faith, my father my strength, and the belief in myself. To my wife Joyce and our 4 children, Allie, Jessica, Tony, and Mario, thank you for allowing me to pursue my dreams and passion. Thank you for all you sacrificed and understanding when I missed so many of your events over the years. I'm looking forward to spending more time with you and my grandchildren. To Mark Coyle and Tom McGinnis, thank you for allowing me to leave on my terms and fulfill my final goal of Gopher Hockey, raising money to finish the weight room and upgrades at 3M at Mariucci. In closing, I saw this quote a couple months ago. Trey Gowdy said it best when he didn't seek re-election. The book of Ecclesiastes teaches us there is a time to come and a time to go. This is the right time for me to leave coaching and move on to the next phase of my life. Thank you.
John, how was it different coaching at the University of Minnesota the last 19 years than maybe you thought it would be, or was it you thought it would be?
Well, I think it was everything I expected it to be honest. Obviously, over time, things change. I think the biggest change we've seen is, the early recruitment of 9th and 10th graders, and obviously the squeeze on the other side of the NHL with players departing early. Obviously, social media is a bigger thing than what it used to be. So you have to have thick skin to coach at the University of Minnesota, and I think mine's like alligator skin right now. But, that goes with the territory. And, if you'd have told me 20 years ago when I came here, 19 years ago, I was 40 years old, that, I'd still be here at this time, I said, sign me up. And I feel lucky, the things that go through your mind. 19 years ago, I came here and Mario was in kindergarten. Now my granddaughter's in kindergarten. And I feel really blessed that I could raise my family here in a great city around a university. Hockey's been such a part of our life. Joyce always took the kids to the games, even back in the Alaska days, and had their row, and so it was always a part of it. And I know when I've talked to my kids the last few weeks, their comments always, well, what are we going to do in the winter, Dad? It's been such a part of our life. And, I give Joyce a lot of credit because she had to hold the fort down. Her big comment always was when the season ended and I'd be home more and I'd be having these edicts, she says, hey, we got along just fine without you. Don't change the rules now. Well, I think that for me, honestly, I was never one to say I'm going to coach till I'm 65 or 70. I looked at around 60. It was probably not a bad time. I've always felt that, this is a great job. Somebody else should have an opportunity too. And I think that Mark and I have had a lot of talks the last couple of years. I think he kind of knows my sentiment. I've talked to Tom McGinnis a lot too about it. But I think last summer especially, I'm at a Bantam game and it's August on a weekend, and I'm saying, do I really want to be here at a Bantam game in August? And so you go through things like that. And as the year goes on, I thought, am I going to do it much more than this? Maybe not. You'd rather give it up 1 year too soon than 1 year too late. So Mark and I had discussions. We never had any discussions about me not coaching next year. But I think deep down in I felt like I really don't want to go into last year. What can I do to help Gopher hockey? I think we've seen the addition of the downstairs, the new locker room, what an impact that's had for recruiting. I think that factors in that I'd like to, one of the things I worked hard at the fundraising is I want to see this finished off for the next person. The athletic village was built. Our offices are moved over here. Sometime this summer, you start to think, is it time for the next guy to move into that new office? So I don't think it was any one thing. I think pretty much I knew the last month or two. Even when things were going well and we thought we were going to be in the NCAA. So really this has nothing to do with missing the NCAA or anything like that. In my mind, I kind of knew where I was at a few weeks back.
With the Frozen Four back in St. Paul this year, you think back on a lot of great moments. 2002, the best of them? Yeah,
well, I think when you think of on the ice, that was a great moment. I've been fortunate. I told this to our players when we were getting down the stretch that I've experienced it all as a coach, and that's what the journey's all about to me. What haven't I experienced? Well, let's see. We won a national title in overtime at one point. We lost a national title in overtime at one point. We won a Final Five in overtime, lost a Final Five in overtime. Part of the longest game in the history of college hockey against Wisconsin when I was at CC, 129 and a half minutes. I got a chance to go and start a program up in Alaska. Got a chance to help those programs get to the CCHA and WCHA at that time. Went to CC when they may have folded their program if we hadn't done well, built a new world arena. So I guess I've just experienced so much that I'm just thankful I've had all those opportunities. And Getting back to Minnesota, yeah, you have moments. I mean, the Matt Kowalski goal, I can think back to just the thrill of getting to the Frozen Four that year in East Lansing. Grant scoring the goal. I mean, kind of ironic, the first non-Minnesota recruit. You know, you take grief for that. But I always said when I came here that I was going to do it the way I thought it should be done. So when I leave, there's no regrets. But, you know, he scores the winning goal. What a great moment. You know, Thomas Vanna comes in the next year and does it again. But there's other moments. I mean, Blake Wheeler's diving goal in the Final Five, Justin Hall's goal in the Frozen Four a few years back. So there's so many great memories. But it's not just that. It's, you know, sitting back in the coaching room with Mike and everybody, and you're grinding it out, and it's like you lose the night before, and it's not... You got to embrace the grind sometimes. It's not fun, but you do it for the kids, and you want to have the kids have success. I think that's the most important thing. I feel really good about where the program's at. I feel good about our culture. I feel good that we have a system in place that everybody graduates. I feel good that we have a system in place where the players understand the importance of how you act and what you do and how you represent the University of Minnesota hockey program. You know, I tell the story how... And I say it to the recruits, if you come to Minnesota, this is 24/7, 365 days a year. You have to be on. And last summer, it just gets reinforced. My wife and I went to the Hlinka tournament in the Czech Republic. We're flying out of Berlin, and I'm at Dachau, and somebody comes up to me, "Are you the Gopher hockey coach?" And that's the way it is. And I've always taken that as the responsibility that goes with this job. It's an unbelievably great job. We do have tremendous fan support. I know there's been angst about switching to the Big Ten, but at this point, our fans have to embrace it for the good of the program. The Big Ten today is an outstanding conference. I had a situation around Christmas time, and I'm at a game, and somebody comes up to me, "Geez, I miss the old WCHA," and my response was, "Well, what WCHA do you miss?" I said, "The WCHA I played in, Michigan, Michigan State, Notre Dame, Wisconsin, Minnesota, we're all part of the league." So we're kind of back to the future. It's a great league. We see it this year. You know, 4 teams are in it, 2 #1 seeds. You know, without the upsets, we would have been in, but it didn't come to be. I remember I had a text on Saturday, you know, when all that played itself out. Obviously, I wish I was at an NCAA press conference this week than here, and could have done it a little bit longer. But I went to church on Saturday. I didn't want to deal with the North Dakota game, and came out, and my wife looked at her phone, and she said, "Well, North Dakota won. I thought we were in." And then lo and behold, Tony texted me, "Well, there's 1 out of 64 scenarios you don't get in." And then I looked at the 6 games, and I texted a friend, and when he asked if we were in, I had to text back, "Well, there's 1 scenario, but we'd have to lose all these 6 games." I said, "If we lose all 6 of these games," I said, "the good Lord's telling me it's time to do something else." So maybe it's his way of telling old Don, you know, it's time to do something else. But I feel so blessed and lucky to do what I've done. Jeff Sauer said it best. You know, he never felt a day that he went to work. And, you know, in that, it hits you. I mean, the last few years, I mean, Ron Mason dies in his early 70s. Jeff Sauer, you know, you go to Wisconsin, he's not there anymore. And it's like, what do I want to do in the next phase? You know, do I want to be 65 years old and going to rink every day, or do I want to be 65 years old and have more time with my wife and my grandchildren and, you know what, go to her Mike game on a Saturday morning? So I think all these come into play, but it's like I've been so lucky and fortunate to do what I've done.
Don, there must have been some people, though, asking you to come and build another program somewhere or go to the NHL, you know, in these past few years. Did you entertain that? Was there some that came close? Yeah,
I mean, I think about 10 years ago, there was one that came really close, but ultimately it wasn't, the time wasn't right, and I elected not to go. I don't regret it, not doing it. As I said, I feel really blessed that my kids were raised here. I mean, this is home. They live here, and it's nice that my daughter's a mile and a half away, and I can pop in and hold the grandkids and get them all riled up and then go home. You know, I enjoy getting up and watching my daughter on TV every morning. You know, Tony, I kid him, the best thing that happened to him is he had concussions and had to quit hockey, and, you know, now he's a president of a company in town. So this is home for the Lucias, and I feel very blessed to be a part of this community.
What kind of advice would you have for the person who replaces you, and do you have a recommendation on who you'd like to see?
Well, I hope I'm there for them like Doug was there for me. That's the thing that I look at, that Doug and I had a really good relationship. I remember the first game we won, I would come down to the locker room as Doug's in the locker room eating pizza with the guys before I even get in there after the media. But that's the way I wanted it. You know, I said, he built this program. He was a part of it. And, you know, I wanted to come here because of the tradition and try to add to it. And that's what you feel good about when you walk away at some point in time. But, hey, Mark's going to have to make a difficult decision. There's no bones about it. I mean, hey, I took a lot of grief because I wasn't an alum. I mean, that's the reality of it. But there's nothing I could do about that. So, I mean, that's going to be a big decision. Do you hire an alum or a non-alum? I mean, obviously Mike's sitting up there and he's done a phenomenal job here, been a part of so many championship teams, and I know he'd do a great job. I'm sure they're looking at some others, but it'll be a difficult choice. If Mark wants to help him in the endeavor, I'd be happy to give him my 2 cents. Obviously, it's not going to be my decision, but there'll be a lot of good candidates. There should be. I mean, just like it was my time 20 years ago, it's somebody else's time now, and I'll do anything I can to help the new coach, even be a sounding board at time when the needles are flying in the voodoo doll, which is going to happen, the expectations that are there, but you know that going in. I mean, that's the reality. You come here because you know you're going to have a chance to win at a high level. It doesn't mean you're going to every day. College hockey, there's more parity than ever before. We have 5 really good teams in our state. I think we should celebrate that. I think that's a good thing. And there's more college hockey players being produced all across the country than ever before, and I think that's a good thing too.
There's 1, maybe 2 head coaching jobs open in Alaska right now. You can confirm you are retiring?
I concur. Well, my wife asked me about that. Back to the Future, right? No, I don't. You know, they need some good young people. I've actually, talked to some of the ADs about some candidates and try to help them that way. But, I as I told them, I've always got a soft spot for up there. The old saying for me is I went to Alaska for a year. I left 12 years later with a wife and 4 kids. And I say the winters were long, dark, and cold, so I had to get out of there, or I might have had 10.
Mark, what's next? As far as search goes the process, what's next?
Yeah, obviously, just starting that process, and I can tell you, when I left in 2005, went to the University of Kentucky, I learned a very valuable lesson. When Coach Smith left to come up here, being a young administrator, you think anybody wants that head coaching job. And you learn real quick that there's only a handful of people who can take that job. In Minnesota hockey is like a Kentucky basketball, and so I think, take that experience. Obviously, selfishly, we feel like we have the best hockey job in the country. We're very proud of what we have. We have an incredible tradition, and I look forward to having those conversations with the right people and making sure we find the best fit for our student athletes in our program.
Long or short list?
I think any AD would tell you that you always have a list of coaches you're interested in, and I don't put a number on that, but again, we've started to identify some people, and we'll move forward in a process that is efficient. But again, most importantly, we want to find the best fit for Minnesota, somebody who understands what this program means. I tell people all the time, this program in a lot of ways is the heartbeat of the state, and we need somebody who's going to embrace that and understand that. Do
you have a date circled for when you hope to make an announcement?
Not at all. I had a chance to meet with the team this afternoon with Coach Lucia, and I told those student athletes it's going to feel like years. But again, it's on us to find the best fit for this program.
There's going to be a faction of your alumni that are going to insist that it's a golfer. Could it be somebody that's not?
Right now, we just want to gather information. We want to find out. I know that's very important to people here. I also know that it's very important to find the right fit for our student athletes in our department, what we're trying to build here.
For both of you, how much, Don and Mark, has this job changed? Because there was at one time a list for season tickets that was a long list. The building was filled. I mean, the move of conferences has definitely impacted things. For both of you, how much has this job really changed in the last 19 years, really the last 5 since you moved?
Well, I think it's a combination of, you know, throughout the 90s, there was no NHL in town. And obviously the Wild or any pro sport has an impact. I think it was a little bit of a perfect storm of priority seating. At the same time as moving to the Big Ten, there was a lot of angst about the Big Ten. A lot of people mistakenly believe that, you know, we were responsible for it. You know, the reality is that when Penn State added hockey, there were 6 teams, and there was going to be a Big Ten hockey conference. You know, that's the way to know. Now, what do we do moving forward? And at the same time, when the Big Ten formed, unfortunately, some premier programs are a little bit of a down cycle. Well, as you see, that's not true anymore. I mean, we've won at home. I mean, probably in the last 7 years, we probably won as many or more home games than anybody in college hockey. And then it was, well, the teams you're playing aren't very good. Well, we had the #1 strength of schedule in the country this year and wasn't even close. I think we had 23 of our 38 games were against the NCAA field this year. The Big Ten is quality right now. There's really good players in the Big Ten. There's more really good players coming in the Big Ten. The coaching is outstanding. They're veteran coaches. Every program in the Big Ten wants to win at a high level. And our fans need to come back and embrace that. We have to do more, and hopefully that they can see it. I mean, hey, some people are probably think, I'm stale. I've been here too long. You get that, and we want new blood. So I'm hopeful that I can look out there next year and there'll be more people in the seats and get behind the program, because you have to have that. For this program to be where it needs to be, the alumni have to be lockstep behind the program. They live in this community. What they say influences what people think. That's absolutely critical. The fans have to pack the building. We need to get back to that. And if we do, I think, then Gopher hockey is where we all want it and expect it to be.
For either of you, with a year left on the contract, is this a buyout situation, or what will your role be next year?
Do you want to explain?
Yeah, so what we, I want to make it very clear, when Don and I, again, being together when I was in Mariucci for those 4 years, we know each other well, and we've had lots of conversations. And Don's going to work closely with us, be a special assistant to me, the athletic director, and as he mentioned, working towards the fundraising goals for 3 Marina and Mariucci. And I can tell you, it's what makes Don who Don is. He reiterated to me time and time again, he wants to do what's best for Gopher hockey. And we both feel this role is what's best for Gopher hockey, and we're just grateful that he'll be around to help us as we continue those fundraising efforts.
There was a time when the program was expected to win national titles. Is that still the standard? Is that still a realistic expectation?
Well, I think that's always the goal, but 98 years ago for hockey, we won 5. I mean, so I've never, as long as I coached, then we wanted to try to always be in the hunt. That was my goal. I always felt that my goal every year was to try to hang a banner, quite frankly. It was because if we hung a banner, I knew we were in the hunt. And then it's the old adage, in a single game tournament, I've always felt you have to be good, you have to be lucky, and you have to be healthy. It could be the draw. I mean, you get knocked out 3 or 4 times by the eventual national champions. You're getting ready to go on a plane, and Alex Goligoski takes a shot and breaks his finger, doesn't even know if he can play. Does that cost us one? But it's hard. I mean, it's really hard. And so, to me, there's tangible when I tell our players in the recruiting process, if you can win a league title, it's hard to do. We're at Madison a few weeks back, and the national anthem's being played, and you look around the Kohl Center and this and that, and all of a sudden you look up and you see Wisconsin's had a pretty good program over the years. Is that fair to say? In the history of their program, they've won 3 conference titles. 3. But if you can hang a banner, you, as a player, someday down the line, you're going to come back with your kids and say, you know what? I was part of that. I came to Minnesota because of the history, the tradition, and I added to that. And that was always how I felt. So it's not 40 years ago when the top 2 teams in one conference, the top 2 team in another conference went to the Frozen Four. Now there's 6 conferences. It's harder than ever just to get to get to the NCAA tournament. I mean, go through how many teams in the last 10 years, different teams have been to the NCAA. How many have been to a Frozen Four? It didn't used to be like that. The goal should never change. The expectations, you want to have that. I think you want to embrace that. But you also have to be realistic. What's classified as a good season? To me, it was never, well, you didn't win a national title, so therefore it was a failure. You know, up until a few years ago, Ron Mason was the winningest coach in college hockey. They won it once. You know, a lot of good coaches and a lot of good programs. I mean, North Dakota won one. They went 17, 18 years, and how many times are they knocking on the door? It's hard to do. You know, BC, just 2 years in a row now, hasn't gone to an NCAA tournament. It's just difficult. Why? So many more programs, early recruiting, the NHL, pulling guys out. We wouldn't have won a national title in 2002 if Jordan Leopold would have signed and Johnny Pohl would have signed. They came back as seniors, and Jordan Leopold won the Hobie Baker. It's different today. But you have to find a way. Hey, we talk about, we got to find a way to get older. I mean, we're forever young. In this day and age, a lot of the successful teams at the end, they're 22, 23, 24. So how do we find a way to get older? I mean, those are discussions you have. I mean, we went through that stretch in the late 2000s where we lost so many players in such a short time, you couldn't catch up. I think we went through 11 in 3 years, underclassmen and your seniors. So you couldn't catch up. So it's like, okay, we got to rethink this. We got to have some elite young players, but we got to have some good college players too, even if that means letting a real elite player go. Because what's better, a 1-year player or a really good 4-year player?
Thanked your critics during your introduction. How much of that outside noise filtered down to you, and how did your thinking on that evolve over the years?
You know what? I don't read Twitter. And I always took the tack that I don't read the paper during the winter. I don't get on the message boards because I know, and I tell the players the same thing. I mean, if we don't play well or we lose, we're going to get crucified. You're the worst player. I'm the worst coach. And I always wanted to take the tack that I felt if I read that stuff, it would affect me when I went to work. And I never wanted to allow that I never wanted to go to work and say, I'm down because of what somebody's saying. And I wanted to be able to have all my energy and all my focus to give to our players on that given day. And that's why I really didn't. I mean, hey, there were some brutal articles over there. Some of it's not true. I honestly didn't read it. And, and hopefully the players don't. Hopefully the assistant coaches do. But it's hard. I mean, I think the thing my parents enjoyed the most, or my wife and kids enjoy the most, is fake Don Lucia, because that's funny. Once in a while, they'll show me a few of those. But you just have to put the blinders on. You have to believe in what you're doing, and just stay the course of what you're doing, that you feel you're doing it the right way. And that's what my takeaway from my 19 years is. I've always tried to do it the right way. What was important to me? Winning was important, but going to class was important. Getting good grades was important. Graduation was important. I see Chris Cord's up there, and he's done a phenomenal job with our team from an academic standpoint. He just deserves a tremendous amount of credit for that. But the players deserve a lot of credit, too, for graduating in 3.5 years, or Nick Bukestad coming in here and graduating in 3, knowing that he's going to be an NHL player. Our players deserve a lot of credit for understanding the importance of how they conduct themselves away from the rink, and I'm really proud of that. I said when I came here that I wanted, 19 years ago I came here and I said, I understand how important this program is. I never got to play here. I said it 19 years. I mean, Herbie was in my house, and he was smart enough to give a scholarship to somebody else but me. So I ended up going someplace else. It worked out great for me. I never dreamed I would someday be the coach here, but I knew the responsibility that came with it. I knew the integrity of the program becomes so important. I know, and I wanted to have a program that our state could be proud of. And I think for the most part, we've done that. There's a year or two you say, geez, we didn't have a very good year. But for the most part, we did a lot of good things, and that's what I remember. You know, I'm sure a lot more people are going to like me now that I'm not coaching than probably when I coach, but I've always tried to hold my head high. I've always tried to do it the right way. My previous coaches taught me that. My dad taught me that. My mom taught me that. I just, you know, I've tried to pass that on to my family. I've tried to pass it on to our players, and I think I take a lot of pride in, you know, how they've always conducted themselves, and that's why I feel good right now. You know, when Mark and I have talked the last few weeks, and you know, I even told Mark, I said, you know, I think I'm pretty much ready to go down this path, regardless of how. Because at the time we thought we were going to be in the NCAA tournament. I think I did tell him. I said, I don't care if we go to the Frozen Four. I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready. I don't want winning a game or losing a game to influence kind of how I feel. I'm turning 60. It's time. It's somebody else's turn, and I hope I can be a mentor. I hope I can be a friend, and I hope I can, you know, raise the money to finish off Mariucci Arena.
It sounds like you're really at peace with this. Did you ever imagine that when this day came, that you'd be able to have so much clarity to make the decision that you did?
You don't know. I remember when I took the job. You know, old Frank Serratori is a good soundbite if you've ever seen some of his. And, you know, I was sitting at his house in Colorado Springs, and Frank's been a good friend over the years. And, you know, he said, you know, the one thing about Gopher hockey, he says they got a lot of blank U money. So at some point in time, they don't want you. They just say blank U and write you a check, and you're out of there. And that's Frank. But I knew this is something that I wanted to do. I know that over the years, when we left, I told my wife, I mean, the kids were little. I mean, you know, you got kindergartners. I mean, I think Allie was going into 10th grade, and Jesse in 9th, and Tony in 6th or 7th, whatever he was. And it's like, I told her, because CC offered me, I think, a 15-year contract to stay. And, but I always felt, you know what, if I don't do it, I might regret it the rest of my life. And I told her, I said, well, if I only last 5 years and we don't do well enough, then it was a bad move. But I got to try. No different than, you know, when we were up in Alaska and she was pregnant with Mario, and I took the CC job. At that time, I mean, there was only a 1-year guarantee they were going to have a hockey program. But she took a leave of absence for her teaching job, so we could always go back if it didn't work out. But, you know, you're willing sometimes to take that leap of faith. And I just, like I said, I've been blessed. I have a tremendous faith. And I feel really lucky. And that's why I think you see me really happy. I mean, it was tough with the players. I think anytime you're with the players, it's difficult. But I feel really good. And I'm appreciative of Mark and Tom and everybody in the department who've helped facilitate that. Because, you know, I always said, I told Tom many years ago, you know, at the end, I hope I get treated well and the right way, and they've done that. And that's why I never wanted to go down to, geez, we won this game, I'm here or not here or whatever. You feel at times it's you've run your course, you feel good. Like I said, do I want to go watch Bantam players anymore? And I started to struggle with, and I told recruits, I can't guarantee I'm going to be here your whole time, but I will say this. The University of Minnesota is a great place to play hockey. The University of Minnesota is bigger than Don Lucia or any player. The University of Minnesota will have an outstanding coach. So you're not coming here because of me. You're coming here for the program. I think the last couple of years. I think that, you know, especially, I mean, if you're dealing with a 9th grader and 4, I mean, you're talking 8 years. I mean, that's where it is today. And, you know, some ask, some don't. And, you know, I was very truthful in my answer because I always said as a coach, I always wanted to treat the players like my own kids, like I treated my own children. I told them, I said, I may not like you all the time, but I'll always love you, just like my kids. And, you know, you're going to make me mad. My kids make me mad, but you know what? It's never personal. And that's the tact I've always tried to take.
Appreciate everyone coming out today. Thank you so much. Thank you.